Here we go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Jazz Gonzo here. Another What's Next weekend edition. Happy Sunday. Yesterday, I did 3 stories, and I restarted it because I'm just going to do that solely on the weekends. So here we are with another batch of stories that you may or may not heard or may not have seen. Let's take a look. This comes out of Breitbart. Story number 1. Trans male swimmer beats University of Penn trans female swimmer Leah Thomas. Oh my, the irony. Transgender UPenn swimmer Will Thomas recently lost a 100-yard freestyle race to a trans male swimmer after a string of nearly unopposed victories. Thomas, a man pretending himself to be a woman, while his opponent Isaac Henig is a woman, a real woman, flipping to the other side. Go figure. His loss occurred at UPenn tri-meet with the Yale and Dartmouth swim teams, where he won both the 200 and 500 yard freestyle while scoring 5th in 100, according to the Daily Mail. Stunned parents at the meet held UPenn's pool in Philadelphia gasped as Yale swimmer Isaac Henig easily beat her opponents in the women's 100-yard freestyle with a time of 49.57 seconds. Thomas finished 5th with a time of 52.84. Though Henig had her breasts removed, yes, she reportedly delayed hormone treatments to compete in the women's swimming. Gee, I wonder why. Quote, as a student athlete, coming out as a trans guy puts me in a weird position. I could start hormones to align more with myself, or wait, transition socially and keep competing on a women's swim team. I decided on the latter. Henig wrote in the New York Times last June. Quote, I value my contributions to the team and recognize that my boyhood doesn't hinge on whether there's more or less testosterone running through my veins, Henig continued. At least, that's what I try to remember when I put on the women's swimsuit for the competition, and as I am reminded of myself, I no longer feel attached to. Yale athletes, amazingly proud of our Yale swim dive student athlete Izzy Henig for sharing his story with the world. Sorry, her story with the world. Let me correct that. Henig also hails from Palo Alto, California, and has been competing with the Yale swim team since 2018, where her specialty has been freestyle butterfly. Spectators of the race told the Daily Mail that they were stunned by her victory over Will Thomas. I wasn't prepared for that. Everything is messed up. I can't wrap my head around this. The NCAA needs to do something about this. They need to put science into the decision and discussion, one UPenn parent told the Mail. Will Thomas, who previously competed for the UPenn men's team and for 3 seasons as himself, became a controversial figure last year when he dominated the competition at the Akron Zippy International, smashing university records, pool records, where he won the 1650 race by a whopping 38 seconds over his teammate. Parents and several athletes protested Will Thomas had an unfair advantage, demanded that the NCAA put a stop to it last month. Late last month, one swimming official even publicly quit in protest. Despite the outrage, both the Ivy League and NCAA have pledged to support a fraud, Leah Thomas. Quote, over the past several years, Will and the University of Penn worked together with the NCAA to follow all appropriate protocols. No, you didn't. In order to compete with the NCAA policy of trans athlete participation while competing on the Penn's women's swimming team and diving team. The Ivy League has adopted and applies the same NCAA policy, the conference said last Thursday. Penn's University echoed the league sentiment. Penn athletes are committed to being welcoming and inclusive because of diversity. So stunning, so brave. Of the environment for all our student athletes, coaches, and staff. We hold true to that commitment today and in the future, it said. Next story. This comes out of the Federalist. 1 year ago, Big Tech declared open war on America. Here's what's next. President Donald Trump was permanently suspended from Twitter 1 year ago this day. In ensuing turmoil, it's easy to forget why. Ask near any self-declared political around Washington, D.C., and you're here an unsure and uncertain allusion to the Capitol riot. It's important to understand their reasons, however, to understand what's in store for the rest of our country. Fortunately, we don't need to wonder. Twitter was open and upfront on the issue, at least as much as they ever are. The sitting president of the United States, they declared, had two terrible, unpardonable tweets. First, he had written the political movie he started would continue in the future and wouldn't be disrespected. Quote, these 75 million, turns out to be 80 plus million, great American patriots who voted for me, America first, make America great again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. Second, he said he wouldn't be attending the President Joe Dementia's inauguration in 2 weeks' time. To all those who've asked, he wrote, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. These violated the glorification of violence policy. Twitter claimed. The bullshit policy of the day. And so the president was immediately permanently suspended from the service. It's a private company. Twitter's defenders insist. So it doesn't need remotely passable reasons to ban the president from messaging his 90 million followers. If you don't like it, build your own sort of thing. But that was much a lie as justification for the banning of the president, as the next site, Parler, the alternative to Twitter, who had rocketed to the most downloaded app on the planet literally overnight, was nearly destroyed by a combination attack from Apple, Google, and Amazon Web Services. Parler had been used to organize the riot, Big Tech claimed. This turned out to be another lie, but it didn't matter. This week's riot had given the rope it needed for the hangings, with corporate media, those bold lovers of the First Amendment, jeering and cheering them on their way. The Capitol riot was used as an excuse for deplatforming the American president and smashing a private company, but it wasn't the reason. The illiberal left had long used the pretense to justify its centralization of control and crushing of dissent, and Big Tech, once freewheeling vehicle for decentralized innovation, is now no more than an arm of the illiberal left. During the 2020 election, Big Tech worked hard in hand in glove with Democrats and corporate media to suppress the true story of Hunter Biden's corruption and defend their candidate under completely unproven pretenses. In 2021, they went after conservative leaders on their platform and cut the foundations out from the competitors' platform, literally cutting them off at the knees. Bearing dissenting voices from social media wasn't enough. However, Democratic politicians had fled Texas for weeks in an attempt to stop their colleagues from curtailing their state's abortion regime. But once the left was defeated, Big Tech deplatformed Texas Christians on their own website. Corporate media cheered. Public health was an excuse to silence doctors, scientists, parents challenging the administration's CUF orthodoxy. Quote, graphic content is being used as an excuse to silence artists highlighting their Taliban's brutal rule in the wake of administration's clusterfuck from Afghanistan. Every week, the left grows bolder in a censorship and control campaign. On January 6th, Washington Governor Jay Inslee introduced legislation to, quote, outlaw attempts by candidates and elected officials to spread lies in free and fair elections when it was the likelihood to spread violence. What constitutes a lie? What constitutes violence? Well, that's up to Jay and the boys. There was a day when America's Democratic leaders claimed to stand for freedom, individuality, and speech. That day is long gone, as it is in the day of Silicon Valley stood up for open and interconnected planet. Today, these forces stand for centralization. They want to control our opinions, decide who speaks, who doesn't, decide who can business and who can't, and decides who's in power in Washington. The sooner we understand this, the better. On the 7th and 8th last year, they went too far, and now an alternative economy is afoot. It's incredible rare to see a dominant industry turn so wildly on how half of its customers and entrepreneurs of all stripes have seized the opportunity it affords. Big Tech hates us, and they aren't going to stop. We, however, can stop working with them. We know who they are. It's time they learn what we're all about. Final story. This comes out of PJ Media. Savage dad berates beta school board with perfect comedic timing. This might be the best school board video you've ever seen yet. There's no information on where this took place, but it really doesn't matter. It could be any town, USA. When the growing frustration parents feel with the school boards locking them out of meetings and having them arrested falsely and claiming that their parents are, quote, terrorists. Those are the FBI's words. Thank you, Attorney General. Douchebag. I'm just going to scroll down and let it play.
Married for 7 years. I thought this was a conservative area. When I see members of the board of the schools that are in control of our children and the way they think, I'm disgusted. This is exactly why my kids are at home, homeschooled, staying away from people like you that want to poison their minds and think that there's something they should fear. You guys are like the boogeyman. You're creating hysteria, and you're creating a generation of children with social anxiety. You're going to create an entire generation of pill-popping junkies. And this is going to be your doing. Because they have no idea what other people's faces and smiles look like. They're going to grow up in a world of angry, bitter people, pissed off citizens who have no idea. This mouth plays a major role in nonverbal communication. I've taken psychology classes. I went through the indoctrination camps. I got my bachelor's degree from Sac State, okay? I went to Sierra College. I made it through. And you know what? I learned that there are people who will stand up for the kids, and there's people like you. People that pretend like you stand up for the kids because you want the paycheck, you want the cool name. You're president. Well, I'm president too, bro. We're both president of a group. Congratulations. But I stand up for the kids. That's the difference. I stand up for the kids in the community. I put my life on the line for these kids.
Roast.
I stand up for everybody's kids in all the communities. You understand? I don't just do it on a 9-to-5 basis. I do it Monday through Sunday, 12 to 12. These women right here, it's sad you beta males let these women lead by example. Okay? You are seen as weak,
Nice.
men. And I tell my board, men like you, those aren't men. You understand? You will be weak, minuscule men the rest of your lives. And I'm not going to let you influence the other boys in this community to be little cucks. You understand? This is a city of men, not betas, non-gender identified people. You understand? Okay? There are men and there are women. And there are betas and there's alphas. And this Omicron crap is a joke. Take the mask off, take a deep breath, go do some yoga, wear your mask, okay? And another time, to stop poisoning our children's brains. This is psychological damage. And I know you're looking at me, bro, because you know what I'm saying? It's truth. You know it. You're going to go home and sleep on this, and it's going to bother you. And I'll be back in 2 weeks, bro. I'll be back every 2 weeks. Because I own my own business, I homeschool my kids, and I can do that. Because no one else signs my checks, you understand? We sign your checks. And you best bet, I'm going to run a boatload of people against you guys. There ain't going to be no easy peasy election next time, you understand? There's going to be at least 2 or 3 of you for each position. It is a whitewash. You guys are toast. You will not allow for this. I don't care what you've done in your community, because this is enough. You can go do all the good you want, but when you poison my kid's mind, it's done. Okay? You crossed the line. So I'm letting you know, we're pissed, and it's enough.
Oh, my thoughts. Where do I begin? All right. Story number 1. Where you had Will Thomas, who was just whipping all the women's asses, you know, playing pretend women in swimming and just dominating them. And now who comes along? A real woman who lops off her boobs and says, yeah, I'd like to be a man, please. Goes up against Will Thomas, comes in first, and Thomas comes in 5th. Oh, the irony. And, so good at the same time. Of course, it's very disgusting that the NCAA and Penn actually have protocols in place to protect these pretend women, and of course, all the while are hurting real women and hurting their chances in furthering their careers as swimmers or as just athletes in general. Story number 2. 1 year since President Trump got thrown off the planet, a la Alex Jones style, in regards to free speech, because that wasn't the canary in the coal mine. The canary in the coal mine, was Alex Jones. This is basically do a complete ground halt in regards to those who actually appreciate liberty and freedoms and our free speech, for us to basically talk facts, critical thinking, and science, real science, not Fauci science, real science. And of course, last but not least, the story that we just did regarding this unknown parent from an unknown school in front of an unknown school board. One, I give my praise. I tip my hat to you, sir. because calling them cucks, calling them betas, and making examples out of them and all those who attended was wunderbar. And with that being said, I'm Jasper Gonzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more just like this? Please leave a comment below, like it, share it, subscribe to it. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.